And a good morning to you and welcome to K24 this morning. My name is Jeff Motte. Beautiful Tuesday. It is 8 on the nose, and as always, if you're joining us for the first time, we look at the big stories that are on your dailies, and then from there, dig a bit deeper to the pertinent conversations of the day. Now, today the BBI lens faces Mount Kenya, with the region's county assemblies expected to vote today on whether they will adopt or reject the bill. Yesterday's about turn of Governors Mutua and Kibwana caught many by surprise and adds fuel to the political alliance fire that seems to be heating up. Is the referendum a precursor to the next political formations, or as their politicians put it, these are two mutually exclusive events? We talk BBI, political alliances and endorsements on K24 this morning. But as always, first, the newspaper headlines. Let's see what you have on the front page of your People Daily. Let's scroll down and see what you have right there. Yatani seeks nod to borrow more billions. National Treasury has confirmed it will ask Parliament to have the 9 trillion shilling debt ceiling revised upwards. And as it stands right now, a quote from Haron Sirima, looking at the fiscal deficit over the next 3 years, it is imperative that the debt ceiling will have to be adjusted upwards. As you can see right there, we're standing at this particular point in time. Some of the critical numbers that you'll need to be mulling over. 3.5 trillion shillings, the estimated budget for the financial year 2021-2022, which is inclusive of 486 billion shillings in redemptions. National government is set to be apportioned 1.966 trillion shillings. You can find the story in detail in your copy of your PD on page 4. 937.6 billion shillings, the estimates in budget deficit to be financed by net external borrowing of 345.5 billion shillings and net domestic borrowing of 592.2 billion Kenya shillings. So this is where it stands financially. And of course, even as we spoke about this yesterday, CS Yatani really having to balance the books and having a Herculean task to do that. Again, this story is on page 4 of your People Daily. You can get the details of that right there. Let's scroll to the top and see what we have. How crooked medics steal from dying tycoons. Detectives are investigating a scandal involving healthcare workers at 4 leading hospitals in Nairobi who are suspected of colluding with criminals to siphon money from accounts of terminally ill rich patients. You can find this story on page 2 of your People Daily with all the details of that therein. And I want to take you back to a time when one NASA co-principal had spoken about a messy, ugly divorce. This could be it from where we stand. NASA leaders exchange bitter words over 2022 bid as it stands right now. Of course, Raila Odinga having spoken his piece and saying that he's not about to endorse anybody, and more so not those who are in NASA, because as he said, when he needed them the most, they were nowhere to be seen. Page 6 of your People Daily has more details of that particular fallout and how it might go from there. Let's scroll to the very top of the paper now. Preacher's kin stopped from flying to Nairobi. Family of controversial Malawi cleric Bushiri was traveling for medical attention, but even as we're doing that, his kin stopped in their tracks as they're coming to Nairobi. This story is on page 7 of your People Daily. You can get the details of that right there. If you don't have a physical copy of your paper, you can get it straight to your phone. The number that you dial is *550*4#. It'll only cost you 10 shillings, and you can get it right across the country. No need for an app for that. You don't even need data on your phone. Just a number *550*4#, and you get it to your phone, courtesy of the People Daily and Safaricom. Let's see what the other papers have for you this morning. Front page of the Standard. Let's scroll up right there. Raila's hard tackle, they're calling it. Once bosom political bodies, Raila, Kalonzo and Mudavadi are swinging low punches at each other, tearing at the precarious tiny strings that still held the NASA house together. Yesterday, the ODM chief posted videos of the Wiper and NASA leaders appearing to contradict themselves amid equally strong volleys from them. This is where it stands at this particular point in time. And as I always say, no permanent friends or foes in politics, just interests. And as you can see this playing out in the full glare of the public gallery, you can find this story as it's the lead story in your copy of the Standard. Let's scroll down further up and see what we have right there. I will stay in the kitchen, says Ruto on quit calls. As you can see right now, of course, calls have been made for his resignation, but a resolute DP saying he stays put. and will work to deliver on his boss's agenda and the Jubilee government agenda as well. This story can be found in your copy of your Standard therein. As look at that, early referendum loads as BBI heads to what is now being called Super Tuesday. This could be the make or break point as far as the proponents of the BBI are concerned. And if indeed they get all the counties that will be debating this in the assemblies today, they'll be past the threshold that's needed to move it to the National Assembly. Hence why it has been called Super Tuesday. The details of that can be found in your copy of your Standard. But even as you look at that, there's the alarm bell ringing as far as the teachers are concerned. KCSE and KCPE preparation jitters as funds are delayed. This is a story on page 12 of your Standard. And let's not forget that the national examinations ought to take place next month in March. So another task for the CS to avail these particular funds for the Ministry of Education so that our children can get this over and done with and out of their way. And that story is in your copy of your Standard. Front page of the Daily Nation now. They're calling Raila a man under siege. Former PM yet to declare candidature as ODM leader faces a barrage of attacks from his former allies in NASA. Deputy President William Ruto is using relatives to snatch his base while key lieutenants in his Orange Party are going head-on with him. Where does he go from here? They're calling him a man under siege. And you can find this story in your copy of your Daily Nation. Counties get green light to borrow up to 60 billion Kenya shillings. Counties have gotten that particular green light to do this courtesy of the Intergovernmental Budget and Economic Council and the National Treasury meeting that was had in terms of ways to plug this financial deficit that they're experiencing as well at the county level. This story is on the back page of your Daily Nation, so you can get the details of that therein. That's what you have in the Star now. Raila's difficult options as NASA fallout deepens. ODM Chair John Badi tells NASA trio to forget endorsement. We've heard the same statements from ODM SG Edwin Sifuna on as far as that's concerned right there. So the big question is, if indeed he's not going into the full 9 yards with this particular alliance, where does he go from here? Is he going it alone? Very many questions and a lot of speculation and, of course, a lot of analysis as to the options he has left. And this is clearly a story that you can find in your copy of your Star as people try to debate how he moves forward, especially a year to the election. You can find that story in your Star. Finally, we look at the front page of your Business Daily. Airtel fights jail push in SportPesa pay bill row. Milestone Games wants telco cited for contempt for blocking pay bills inherited from the betting company. Seems like SportPesa's woes aren't over and done with yet. Not yet out of the woods, even after moving that brand name from one owner to another. Still a lot needs to be done as they try to streamline their operations. You can find this story in your copy of your Business Daily. So that's what we're looking at as far as your dailies are concerned this morning, and that's what you're waking up to right across the country. But right now and right here, we're talking about the BBI, political endorsements and alliances as well. We had an interesting story done by Martin Opio, just painting the scenario as where we stand right now as far as the BBI is concerned. Super Tuesday is today as well. Where do we go from here? Martin Opio sets the stage.
The Building Bridges initiative could hit the constitutional threshold of 24 counties on Tuesday, following the commitments by assemblies in President Uhuru Kenyatta's Mount Kenya backyard to pass the bill this week. The county assembly is set to pass the document as early as tomorrow includes Kiambu, Nyeri Murang'a, Nyandarua, Meru, Kirinyaga, Embu and Tharaka Nithi, Nakuru, Makueni and Machakos, Mombasa and Taita Taveta, totaling to the constitutional threshold of 24 counties required. The pro-BBI team is keen to ensure the bill gets the nod to pass the 24 mark to 35 counties by Friday this week, with Kilifi, Migori, Lamu, Kwale, Meru, Bungoma and Nyamira counties expected to join the BBI bandwagon. So far, 12 counties have nodded yes to the bill. Siaya County was the first, followed by Kisumu, Homa Bay, Busia, Nairobi, Kajiado, West Pokot, Laikipia, Trans Nzoia, Kisii, Vihiga and Samburu County, which passed the bill this evening. On Monday morning, Makueni Governor Kivutha Kibwana made an about turn to support the BBI, saying his Makueni County will pass the bill. This comes after the governor, together with new presidential hopeful Mukisa Kitui, visited ODM leader Raila Odinga last week.
Our people, the assemblies, are not doing this because they've been forced by anybody. I didn't myself want to force the people so that they can adopt my point of view. Kwa hivyo hakuna kiongozi ataenda hapo mbele aseme ni yeye amefanya watu wakubali jambo fulani.
Tumeweza kuongea tukasema ya kwamba lazima tufuate kile wananchi wanataka. Wananchi wanataka maendeleo, wanataka fedha zije katika kaunti zetu, wanataka maisha bora, vijana wapate kazi, barabara zijengwe.
The MCAs have agreed that by tomorrow the assembly will be sitting, will be reflecting on and will be voting on the BBI issue, and there is no doubt whatsoever from any quarter that the bill will pass.
Over the weekend, ODM leader Raila Odinga exuded confidence that the requisite number of 24 counties will be attained this week.
The coming Tuesday is called the Super Tuesday. Super Tuesday, we want to get 24 counties approving BBI bill. This is going to help us to move to the next stage.
On the other hand, MCAs could be dealt a blow as a private citizen by the name of Magare Gikenyi rushed to court on Monday to sue the SRC over the 2 million car grants to the MCAs noted by President Uhuru Kenyatta, with the petitioner arguing that the car grant was illegal. This comes even as the Office of the Control of Budget poked holes into the SRC approval of the same, seeking an advisory on how car loan facilities would be converted to car grants. Giverson Minor, K24, Nairobi.
Thanks for that, and apologies. That, as you've heard, was a story done by Giverson Minor. Thanks for that, Giverson. And it also sets the stage for what we're discussing this morning. It's all about the BBI, political endorsements or lack thereof, and the alliances that seem to be in the making. I have a very able panel to go through that particular discussion. In studio, joined by Dennis Anyonka. He's an advocate of the High Court. It seems like, have you been to the show this year, Dennis? It seems like it's been quite a while.
Yes, it's been quite a while, but
yeah.
I've been the show.
You've been a busy man. You've been moving quite around.
Yes, that's
okay.
true.
Thanks for making time to be on the show, Asante Sana. Dennis, as this story played, I asked you this question because some people were caught by surprise with the change of tack as far as Makueni Governor Kivude is concerned, with his support for the BBI. Were you surprised when you saw that happening?
No, I wasn't surprised. Kivude Kibwana is just being a politician, where sometimes it's about your interests and not really the principles and what you stand for. Because Kivude Kibwana is a professor in law. Therefore, I want to imagine and believe that his initial opposition to the BBI proposals, particularly the constitutional amendments, was based on his deep knowledge on constitutionalism, principles, and what he disagrees based on principles, not just a mere political argument. But his turnaround did not explain whether those principles changed instantly or what it is. But all we can then assume is that Kivude Kibwana chose to be more of a politician than a principled person who stands for something because he believes in it.
Okay.
So I can't be surprised seeing that happen.
We're also joined by Joy Mdifo. She's the Executive Director of the East Africa Center for Law and Justice. Morning, Joy.
Good morning, Jeff.
Karibu sana. We also have Mark Bichachi. He's a communication strategist and author. He always says that needs to be put into his intro, and author as well. Thank you so much, Mark, for being part of the show. Joe, let me come to you very quickly on this. I'll bring the same question with Governor Kibwana's turnaround. Nothing has changed with the document. He had interrogated this document through and through and found flaws and was opposed to it. Fast forward, we see a picture of him meeting Raila with UNCTAD, former UNCTAD Deputy Director Mukisa Kitui. Then after that, now he's for the document. Nothing has changed with the document. What do you think informed his change of position?
Well, I think it was a matter of on his part, because if I listen to his the little part of his speech that was aired, he indicated that he had a personal position, but he had decided that he was going to just uphold what he considered the will of the majority. And so in this particular regard, I don't think it is him who changed his mind rather than his mind changed for him. So it's a question, those who are Puritans in terms of thinking things through might say it is a level of intellectual honesty on his part, because as you pointed out, there's nothing that changed in the document. It's exactly the same. But here he is saying one thing, we see a meeting, and he says another thing. This is the nature of politics. I think there was also something in social media with Honorable Raila Jerotich Day, who was also part of the Linda Brigade. And we saw a tweet from Martha Karua saying, you know what? Let those ones who are going go, the rest of us will march on. So it's one of those things that, like I said, some intellectual honesty is part, but at the same time, it's pragmatism, realizing my MCAs will embarrass me. I might as well look like I'm behind it. So that whether it is really behind it or is pretending, I don't know. But for now, the thing that we are sure of is that he the doctor. And that is the outcome, I think, that the MPAs were hoping that he would stand with. Notable also is Mukua. About 3 days prior, he stood there with MCA saying, oh, of the people is one. Then the next thing you see yesterday, he was part of the endorsement process. So it's a matter of being driven by that working with, rather than arriving at a decision of volition. So, but it's the outcome that was, so that's fine.
Mark, I'll have you know this as well, because even as we talk about some of the sweeteners that were given to try and move this particular process forward, there's that issue of the loan that turned to a grant as far as the MCA's issue was concerned. That's still a point of contention, with the controller of budget pointing a couple of legal gaps in effecting this. What does this mean? Because, the public is watching, and even after they take it to the National Assembly, it still goes to the people. Do you think they're setting the appropriate mood mark for this to be voted for by the people after they see doctors don't have money, but we do have money to, take your loan and turn it into a grant? How is this, going to be received on the ground?
Jeff, I would like to know which doctors don't have money, because I remember the issues of the doctors' strike was not about money. It was about PPEs. It was about proper working conditions.
It was about allowances, Mark.
Are living without their salaries and their pays. Mark you, and I ask any doctor to prove me wrong, that doctors in this country are paid better than most doctors in other countries. In fact, many doctors wish to work for government as compared to practice. That I can say and work. Second, the issue of the grant to MCAs. I know people are saying it's a bribe, it's a sweet, but the truth of the matter, that is to totally ignore the process that the grant issue has come. Because since 2013, when we elected the first batch of MCAs, the push car grant it can pass by the Salaries and Remuneration Commission, which is in charge of such things. It is now the processes by the controller of budget. If it was a bribe, it would not be having the problems that are there. Thirdly, we need to understand also that the elected leaders in MCAs are popular elected leaders. They are elected by the popular vote, and as such, do represent the people. When we say that it's going to resound success with people, I am reminded that there are 4 million Kenyans who signed this particular document. My Kenyans know very well that if you look at the number of votes it takes to become president of this country, we know that 4 million is very close to that number. So let us not act as if that Uhuru Kenyatta has no clout, Raila Odinga has no clout, Mudavadi has no clout, and if those leaders, including Kiputha Kipwana, now support the BBI, then really it's that they're not reaping the fruit of the people. We are taking the loudness of Tanga negativity to that the few who are shouting are stronger than the few who are quiet and resolve to do the right thing. And that's the difference that needs to be clear to all of us.
Small issue with your sound. You want to fix that at this particular point. There's a small technical hitch with your sound. So as my team fixes that, Dennis, I'll come to you, because Mark has said that from where he stands, the BBI seems very popular. We're seeing all of these leaders taking a turnaround on that. And he says, let us not confuse the few shouting Tanga-Tanga voices, as he's called them, as popular dissent. What's your take?
I do not understand where Mark gets these assessment criteria from on its popularity. Because we're only having MCAs passing the bill, not because they believe in it, but because there was a sweetener that was presented by the government. They now turned a grant, a car loan that they used to have into a grant. Of course, there are legal issues and the same has gone to court. But Jeff, could you imagine what could have happened if that car grant was not there, was not availed to the MCAs as something that brings them closer and feeling that they have their stake in this, they are going to benefit. So really, you cannot talk about popularity when the basis for this vote is, the precursor to all is there is a proposal, there is something that we've been given. So it's unfortunate that finally, if by close of business today, we will have 24 counties, then the bill goes to the next level. And ultimately, it might end up, I want to imagine that even in Parliament, when it goes for discussions, it might finally go through the same fate, because what we have witnessed is that, like Jubilee, sometimes we've had the Secretary General threatening those who cannot vote for the bill and tell you that you don't vote, we'll punish you. We have seen, argument that we will see this going down to the ODM side, to every other political party that supports this. So it's not a free will vote. What perhaps we will wait to see is how the people will interpret this. The challenge that I have, and I even think that even the people might not have the opportunity to properly interrogate the document and make a decision that is informed, is that one, there is no civic education that has been properly been done. We do not have, it has always been said, and it is in public domain, that people have not read this document. What people know about BBI is what they have been told by politicians, what pieces of information they have gathered from media houses. That is all they get. Otherwise, the document has not been available to people for them to independently read. Disregard what I have said on TV, disregard what Raila Odinga is saying, disregard what William Ruto is saying, and independently interrogate the document and make a decision whether it's the right document to vote for or not. So I think there is a problem. The popularity cannot be, if we go by what we are seeing, the voting pattern, that can't be said to be a measure of how popular the initiative is. We will have to wait for the final tally, which has nothing to do with politicians. Unfortunately, even that bit might have some aspect of political influence, because then people have not had the opportunity to independently interrogate the document. A very sad state of affairs, if you ask me.
There's also the argument that even if it does get to the people in terms of a referendum, the threshold to pass it is really low, so that even if it's not as popular as it should be, it's still fairly easy to get it done and dusted. What's your take on that aspect?
Yes, it will. It will be, what happens in Kenya is that constitutional amendment, these particular proposals is pushed by the government. It's more of a government project than actually a people-driven agenda. And government is using force and threats and intimidation to ensure that the people pass. There is a lot of propaganda surrounding all this. So ultimately, to get the threshold to ensure that the bill passes is not going to be a difficult thing. I only pray that those who are able to educate the people, give them the exact interpretation of what is contained in those proposals. Help them understand without standing for against the document. Really educate the people on what this is about and the impact it will be able to have. For example, I've always spoken, and many lawyers have said, when you talk about proposals to amend the constitution that will interfere with the independence of our institutions, then that is a law you do not need, because ultimately if you get the wrong person having the power, then you'll all suffer. We'll have a situation where you have nowhere to go. If the judiciary, for example, cannot be independent in its execution of its mandate, then we have a problem in the fullness of time in terms of where the people will be if we have the wrong person as the president.
And as we look at this and we see what Super Tuesday brings at this particular point in time, after we get through with this, as we move it to the National Assembly, is this the alliance making season? From BBI, do we get the new political alliances that will ride to 2022 from where you stand?
You see, Jeff, if you look at the history of politics in Kenya from way 2005, actually, after 2002, we have had politics of alliances going forward. We've not had a single political party independently pursue an agenda. And that is why sometimes I believe, and I've said before, that Kenyan politics is not idea-based, because when you bring many political parties, it's not like their constitutions and what they believe in is merged into one document. They all come with the sole purpose of getting power. So at this, when we had the Chungwa and Ndizi, the yes and no, finally it gave birth to Orange Party. Then we later on got the second wave of the campaigns, where now William Ruto and there was another wave where William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta were campaigning against the constitution. They finally ended up being together in the fullness of time to look for to get into office. So what we are talking about is that this particular event sets stage for campaigns. Mm-hmm. So the politicians will obviously want to have political discussions. In the process, new friendships, alliances will emerge. So this BBI process will, by the time we conclude it, it will have given direction on how finally 2022 will appear. Who will be in which camp, who will have come together for whatever reason it is. That will come finally after this particular campaign process of BBI. Okay, I want to take a short break at that particular point in time. After the break, we get Joy Mdivo and Mark Bichachi back into the conversation, of course, as we talk about these elusive political endorsements that people are looking for. Where are they getting them? Is it even needed as we go to the people? It's a discussion we have after the break. You can still send your tweets. You can get me at I am Jeff Mote or K24 TV. Back after a short break. Don't go too far.